What's up, my wizards, children of sound? What's up, my little disc jockeys? Welcome to episode 6 of Beating Ableton. Today I'm going to show you guys your new MIDI daddy. That sounds a little something like this. Easy. Another. Dad. It's fucking over, dude. As always, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't yet. And for those of you that are new to the channel, my name is Morgan, and this is Cracked Records. And this is Cracked Records. All right, lock the fuck in because we got a whole lot of sauce to go over today. So for those of you that are unfamiliar, this is your new MIDI daddy down here, Midi Groovr. And essentially how this works is it's a Max for Live device that's going to generate you 2 bars of house bassline MIDI, and it's just pretty much unlimited sauce. So I'm just going to hit generate. And you could just... Again. Let's go. Yeah, so the whole goal with this was to just get rid of all the grunt work that goes into just like randomly fucking around with MIDI when you first get started. So essentially you could just hit random until you get some sauce that gets you inspired so you don't have to waste a bunch of time. Because like, I mean, I programmed this entire thing and I don't think I'd ever punch in MIDI exactly like this by hand. So it's just meant to give you results that you wouldn't normally think of. And just to give you a quick scope of exactly how much you could get out of this, this is the whatever number that is. How many grooves you could get out of it. So it's a whole lot of sauce. All right, so let's dive into some of these features here. And if you guys ever get lost, I'm starting to include all these guide files with the project files, just so you guys could have a little overview of how everything works if you ever get lost. But before you download, just make sure your Ableton is up to date and also your Max for Live. You could check your Max for Live update by doing right click and edit in Max right here, and there will be a pop-up if you're out of date. And then you don't need Serum 2 technically to use this, but if you want to get this sound, you just need to make sure that your serum is up to date as well. Quick sauce check. I'm hungry. All right, we're still lit. All right, first up for the controls, we have the root note slider right here. And you could adjust this by either doing the arrows or actually typing in like F3 or C3. And the key thing here is to just make sure that whatever bass sound that you're using, that you're in the proper octave so it sounds right. So this preset was made to use in the F3 octave. So just make sure if it's like sounding off, you just need to go up or down an octave, which you could do shift up or down to just go down an octave. So after you set your root note here, we have the scale selector. So we have a couple different scales that I put in, and then some of the more traditional scales for house music. So we got root only, which is just going to give you, obviously. And then we have minor, and then Phrygian. And then we have 5 cracked scales. So these are just subdivisions of the normal minor scales, but with a bunch of notes excluded, just because house music is more rhythmic than it is like melodically based. So for all the crack scales, I put the scale divisions right next to it. So this is 1 would be the root, and then the flat second, and then 1, 2, 7, 1, 2, 5, 6, and so on and so forth. Then after that, we have some more traditional scales that you guys can fuck around with. After that, we have the minimum and maximum sliders. So this just controls how far away from the root note that it'll generate MIDI. And by default, I have it set up pretty good. So it's -7 and +13. So you could go like a little down, but not too deep. And then you could go up an octave and a step just so you get that minor second in there. Then next up, we have the phrasing section over here. So the way that the MIDI generation works is it splits every half bar into a phrase. And then the phrasing logic is applied here. So all A's would be all the same half bar phrase, as you can see right here. And this works best if you're doing like a rolling bass line like this. So if we pull down the min and max like this. That's when you would use something like all A's. But after that, we have some typical phrasing. So AAAB, which would just be all the same initial phrases, and then the last phrase is different. And then it pretty much works with the same logic going further down the list. And then we have random, which is just going to give you 4 unique phrases. Then below that, we have the randomized phrase buttons. So let's generate some sauce real quick. And just a quick note, my favorite generations to use are usually ABAB or ABAC. Let's fucking go, dude. So for randomized phrase, it's just going to take that half bar of information and just randomize just that part. So as you can see, we're on ABAC, and it's just randomizing A and the second A over here. And then if you did B, it would just be that part. And then C would be the same thing, but at the end. And then D doesn't really apply unless you're doing all random right here, because D's like the hypothetical fourth phrase. Then after that, we have the note density slider. So this is just going to be the percentage chance each 16th note slot gets a note. So at 50%, it would be half the notes get filled. And then at 100, it would be all of them. So if you're doing like a rolling bass line, you would want to set it higher. And if you wanted it to be more sparse, you would pull it down. Let's go. Below that, we have the note length menu. So this is going to control how long each note is. So for random, it's going to give you anything from about a 16th note to a little bit of overlap. So it's pretty much just a mix of every type of note length that you could get. Then beneath that, we have short, medium, and long. So short's going to give you choppy notes, and then medium is going to be centered around eighth notes with a little bit of overlap. And then long is going to be almost all legato with some overlap as well. And then the last one is a little bit of swag. So this one is a mix between long notes and short notes. So it's just going to give you like that, you know what I'm saying? Just a little bit of swag, baby. Then below that, we have the main generate button. So this is going to generate an entire new 2-bar phrase. And just keep in mind that it always generates the clip where your playhead is at in the arrangement. So just keep in mind, if you're like clicked over here, it's going to make it over there, not where you're intending it to be. Then below that, we have the randomize all button. So this is just going to take every single parameter and give you a random value. So if for whatever reason you couldn't find some sauce, you could just absolutely fuck around and find out with this and just see how lost you could get. Let's switch it up and get a sauce check here. Last up, we have this functions section over here, and this is just going to be more ways to control the MIDI generation. So the first thing we have here is the root percentage chance. So this is just going to be how many notes are in your root note that's determined up here. So 50% would obviously be half of them, and then so on and so forth. So if you wanted to do like a rolling bass line again, you would just crank this up just to make sure everything is in the root note over here. Below that, we have the swing percentage. So this controls the amount of swing that can be applied to every even note. So as you guys can see, these notes right here are swung off the grid. And the more that you pull this up, the higher chance it has to get swing, and the higher swing amount will be applied. Below that, we have the spread probability. So when this is set to 100, it takes your min and max, and it says that every note generated can be equally dispersed between that range in accordance with how much of the root note you have set. And then the lower you pull this down, the closer the notes are going to be generated towards each other. So if you want a more like stepping motion, you're going to want to pull that down just to make sure that you're not getting like any drastic jumps in pitch. Then below that, we have the random velocity percentage, and this is just going to randomly apply velocity spread based off the bass, which is set at 64. So the more you pull this up, the more velocity changes you're going to get. Let's go, dude. And finally, we have this mutate section right here. So the first thing that we see here is this drop-down menu. So the way that mutate works is it's going to apply a slight deviation to the phrase that you select. And this is just intended to give you like a little switch up. Say if like you like a couple things, but it's not perfect yet. And the way that these work is random. We'll just choose one of these functions and randomly apply it. And then pitch is going to change the pitch of the notes. Length would change the length of the notes. Then add or remove would either add or take away a note. Then we'd have pitch swap and note swap, which are just two ways of further affecting the pitch, and then a velocity switch up. So you would just select which one of these you want to mess with, and then you would just select the phrase, and then see how we have lengths selected, and then it's just moving around all the lengths right here. then that's about it for your new MIDI daddy. Nice to meet him. This is going to be part 1 of Groove Generator X. For those of you that know what that is, it's going to be on steroids. So yeah, fucking links in the description. If you're not a crack subscriber yet, figure it out and send me some bangers. I need it. I'm hungry. Gang shit. All right, gang. Hope you had a good time meeting your new MIDI daddy. For the very small, almost non-existent portion of you guys that haven't subscribed to Crack yet, for $10 a month, you could get all the sauce, okay? There's 18 devices I've released so far in 2 months. You do the math, 50 cents or something like that per device. I'm losing. You're winning, okay? If you guys want to download the demo version, links in the description. As always, make sure to like, comment, and tickle that subby butt. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.